This is just a very brief video to give you an overview of what to expect in the first unit exam. Again, we are going to be devoting the class on Monday to our review session, and the exam will be on Wednesday. So I want to cover the scope of the material that we've covered in this first unit, the structure of the exam, and talk a little bit about that review session for Monday. The science that we studied in this unit. This is something now that you've seen, and you can think about all the different things that we've gone through. Do pay attention to this, because this is exactly how I structure the content of the exam. I go myself over the things that I've set out for us to do in the syllabus. Framing the climate issue, looking at the history of energy usage, especially here in Pennsylvania, learning about the short and long-term carbon cycles, and make sure you have those chemical formulas very clear in your mind. You'll see that we've been talking a lot about carbon, whether it's in calcium carbonate or carbon dioxide. So the chemical formulas really do make a difference. The history of Earth's climate, both that very long set of timescales we've been looking back 500 million years to the Cambrian explosion, and then the much shorter term that we can look back for ice cores of about 1 million years, and then the things that we know from direct measurement only going back 150 years. So have a sense of these different time scales and what we can use ice cores for, what we can learn from them. The process of modeling and of knowing what the current warming is, that's something that we've been talking about a lot, as well as the process of projecting into the future, what we think we might anticipate will happen as the result of various scenarios about how much fossil fuel will be burning. And then finally, the oceans, looking, as we said, not only on the effects of weather and the things of hurricanes and sea level rise, but also the changes in ocean chemistry due to ocean acidification. Now, another way to think about this large-scale overview of what we've done these 5 weeks is to look back at the unit objectives that you've seen every week in the syllabus. And this is straight off the syllabus. You can go back and look at this yourselves. Remember that this process of framing was something that we discussed in a variety of different ways, and thinking about the importance of how we frame the question of climate change, and therefore what sorts of solutions we might anticipate. To think about fossil fuels in relationship to other fuels. So we've been talking about whale oil and charcoal, these other ways that people used energy in the past, and how fossil fuels then played a role in that history. Peer review, again, is this way that we have of determining what is good science from what is incomplete or misleading science. And this process, discursive process, where scientists argue back and forth and try to test each other's thesis and come up with different or better solutions or improvements. This whole process of science is tremendously important, especially as we try to explain science to other people. The carbon cycle, the greenhouse effect, feedback mechanisms, all of these important dynamics that we need to be able to understand and explain. And then the history of Earth's climate, especially again, when we talk about ice cores and the process of measurements in CO2 in chemistry. So you see here in these objectives, another way of conceptualizing everything that we've done in this unit. So do pay attention to these sorts of overviews, and make sure you have, most of all, this overview, this high-level understanding of what we've been doing before you get down into the weeds of very specific issues, say, of ocean acidification or rock weathering, some of those processes that may be more difficult for some of you to understand. The exam is going to be very simply all on Canvas, all for you to do, the multiple choice questions, just as we had for the second quiz. They'll be laid out for you on Canvas, and each of those will be worth 4 points. So 1/2 of the exam in terms of the point structure will be from this multiple choice part. Now, in my view, these multiple choice questions are meant to be just the most basic information, the foundation on which we must build. So I really expect all of you to do extremely well on the multiple choice portion. This should be something that you all have down very, very clearly. And I will use some of the questions from previous quizzes. The second part of this is going to be short answers. So a little bit more like that first quiz, where now in a paragraph, not just a few sentences, I want you to explain these major points that we've been talking about. So again, you'll recall that the issue of framing was something that we discussed in the first quiz, right? And I know from looking at some of your quizzes that some of you really didn't go into the level of detail that I was hoping for. And I want to make sure that you do that. So we'll practice that a little bit on Monday as well. Here you're going to have a choice. There'll be 5 options. You can do all 5 and get 10 extra credit points on the exam. And then the diagram. This is the thing that people are most nervous about with this exam, but I think we'll have lots of practice and an opportunity to talk about this. I think you'll understand that this is a really useful piece. Now, what you're going to do is to draw your diagram on a separate piece of paper and then take an image of that and then upload that onto your exam on Canvas. You will be graded on clarity and precision of your presentation, as well as the inclusion of relevant facts and details.
This is one of my favorite places out here in the woods in Shavers Creek. This is part of Penn State, actually, a nature study center out here that you should definitely make sure you come visit sometime. I'm out here with Goldie, who is hunting after some creatures out there in the woods, to wish you good luck in studying for the first unit exam. The first unit exam, again, will be on Wednesday. We have all day Monday as a review session, and that review session will be based on questions that you bring to the session on Monday. So before Monday, I want you to go through the lecture notes, look at the outlines, make sure you understand the basic overall goals for this unit in the class, and then go through the videos and the readings for this unit and write down questions, things that you don't understand, and then we'll discuss those as part of the review session on Monday. The exam itself will be based on multiple choice questions and also a drawing, a sketch that you make of the interaction in the climate system. We'll be practicing that in class, and so you'll have a good idea of what to expect on that first unit exam. So again, go over that material, make sure that you come with questions, and that will make our Monday review session much more fruitful.